Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the July 17th City Council meeting. We'll go ahead and please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's have the council sign in, please.
Four members present.
Okay, Ryan, are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes, Your Honor.
All right, can we get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Four yes.
Okay, item 2 is Citizens Forum, which is the time for anyone in the audience that would like to address the council on any items that are not under the public hearing or new business. So if you're here for Citizens Forum and have something to address the council, please come up to the podium, give your name and address for the record. Okay, not seeing anybody moving in the chamber here. We'll move on to mayor and city council reports. So item 3, mayor, city council reports. Let's start with, Kevin, let's start with you.
Nothing this time.
Great, thank you. Renee?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I just want to say that you've had a couple committee meetings. I attended the West Des Moines Chamber meeting. We had a meeting this morning with Planning and Development. But I want to say thank you to Park and Rec for executing a really nice groundbreaking for the Athene Bridge. It was well done. We were all there, and to support that effort, and it's what they're going to call a game changer for West Des Moines. But it was really nice to see progress being made and dirt being thrown, even in heels, that we are moving in the right direction. So congratulations to everybody that made that happen, Ryan and his staff. Thank you to Athene and all the sponsors that made it happen. And can't wait till we're able to cross that bridge and enjoy it.
Terrific. Thank you, Renee. No, it was an excellent groundbreaking. It's fun to see it get picked up in a lot of different locations. I think somebody even shared something from USA Today.
Yeah, I
Was it?
forgot that it was in the reading the USA Today, and there it is. You know, they have the section for the 50 states, and there was Iowa, and there was the presentation of the groundbreaking for the bridge. It was very nice to see.
Absolutely. Okay. I have nothing further at this time. Greg?
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Tom?
As you can see, Greta Truman sitting in tonight. Dick is his official last day, I think, is the 28th of July. And we've started our search for the new city attorney. In the meantime, you'll see a lot of Greta and Jessica as they'll be splitting the chores up here. We'll send you out the departments to remind you of the departments they take care of. And of course, if there's additional work, they'll work together to manage that. So we're in capable hands. It's just it's going to be a change, and we're looking forward to the search, and we have excellent staff in the legal department. So thank you.
And will there be a reception for Dick?
It'll be a small one. He's not wanting anything big. I think we'll get that up to, I think it's Friday the 28th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So we'll get to make sure you all see that invitation.
Stop by.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Tom, and welcome, Greta. All right, let's move on to item 4. It's the consent agenda. Does any council member have any item they need to pull this evening? I do have one item, 4O, for myself, but any other items?
4-0, did you say?
That's correct.
Move for the remainder.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Four yes.
Okay, let's move to item 4O. This is a resolution authorizing the emergency contract digital enterprise segment 2 phase 1 and segment 3 phase 1 remediation services. I am going to be abstaining for this due to some work I do for Google, and so potential conflict.
I will make the motion to approve 4O.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I did just want to thank the engineering department because this is something that I've probably heard about from a lot of folks around the city of West Des Moines about just moving forward with this part of the conduit network. We've seen some less than stellar work from different contractors, et cetera. And so this is, I think, very exciting that we can move on and just get this part done because I think these folks expected to have a conduit a while ago. And now we can do this ASAP. So very supportive and thank you.
Great. Thank you, Greg. All right, so we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Okay, please vote.
Three yes, one abstention due to potential conflict of interest.
Great, thank you, Ryan. All right, we'll move on to item 5. Item 5A is an ordinance amendment amending Title 9 zoning to modify regulations pertaining to single-family detached residential setback regulations. Ted Grobe, this is an ordinance for approval of the third reading of the ordinance. No changes from the prior reading.
Move consideration of third.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote.
4 yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019, Title 9 zoning, Chapter 7 setback and bulk density regulations pertaining to residential, single-family, and single-family residential districts to provide for reduced setbacks in certain situations.
Move approval of third reading.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote.
4 yes.
Okay, we'll move on to item 5B. Item 5B is an ordinance amending the city code, Title II, Boards and Commissions, Chapter 9, Human Rights Commission, Section 2, Definitions, and Section 3, Commission Appointed, to allow for a youth ex officio member, a non-voting member of the commission that resides in West Des Moines and is a current student enrolled in 9th through 12th grade. This is an ordinance for approval of the third reading.
Move consideration of the third reading.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I would like to just add that, as liaison to the Human Rights Commission, I want to first of all thank the work of the commissioners. They do a phenomenal job. And I really do think that this particular item really sets us forth to enable youth to be engaged in city government, a youth to be engaged in the kind of meaningful, impactful work that this commission does. So I think this is really kind of trailblazing. For the city of West Des Moines to invite young people into the process. And that's what we're missing. The young people are a part of our city. And I know Councilman Hudson is incredibly engaged with young people on so many levels and have a really keen interest of really even elevating more engagement. This is what we heard at the last commissioner meeting. So I want to thank Audrey and her leadership with the commission. I want to thank the commissioners, and I'm so excited to see, hopefully, support of this initiative.
Great, thank you. Any further discussion?
Well said, Renee.
Thank you.
Okay, please vote.
4 yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by amending Title II, Boards and Commissions, Chapter 9, Human Rights Commission for the purpose of adding a youth ex officio non-voting member.
Move approval of the third reading, final approval and adoption.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Please vote.
I don't know if we got did we get a second? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Greg did.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
That's all right.
I was quiet.
4 yes.
Okay, let's move on to item 5C. 5C is a third reading of a proposed ordinance, Title IV, Health and Safety Regulations, Chapter 5, 5C, Solid Waste Control, Modification of Fees and Charges. There's no changes from the first or the second readings.
Move consideration of third.
Second.
Motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Okay, please vote.
4 yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa by amending Title IV, Health and Safety Regulations, Chapter 5, Article C pertaining to solid waste collection charges.
Move approval of third reading and adoption.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
4 yes.
Okay, item 5D. Item 5D is the Ponderosa Tax Increment Financing District. This is city-initiated TIF ordinance.
Motion to consider the second reading?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any further, or any discussion on this item? Okay, please vote.
4 yes, an ordinance providing the general property taxes levied and collected each year on all property located within the Ponderosa urban renewal area in the city of West Des Moines be paid to a special fund for payment of principal and interest on loans, monies advanced to and indebtedness, including bonds issued or to be issued, incurred by the city in connection with the Ponderosa urban renewal area.
Motion to approve the second reading?
Second.
Okay, please vote.
4 yes.
Motion to waive the third reading and adopt in final form?
Second.
Please vote.
4 yes.
Okay, let's move on to item 5E. Item 5E is Amendment to City Code Title 8, Building Regulations, Chapter 2, Building Codes, Article A, Building Code. This is an ordinance for approval of a second reading. There's no changes from the previous reading, and it looks like it went through development planning on June 5th.
Move consideration of the second reading.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Please vote.
4 yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by repealing Title 8 Building Regulations, Chapter 2 Building Codes, Article A Building Code, and in lieu thereof, adopting the 2021 edition of the International Building Code and International Residential Code.
Move approval of second reading.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote.
4 yes.
Move waiving the third reading and adopt in final form.
Second.
Please vote.
4 yes.
Okay, we'll move on to item 5F. Item 5F is the Amendment to City Code Title 8 Building Regulations, Chapter 6, Construction, Site Erosion, and Sediment Control, Section 3, Site Visit Procedures to modify regulations relating to MS4 quarterly site visit inspection fees. This is an ordinance for approval of a second reading. There's no change from the previous reading.
Move consideration of the second reading.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote.
4 yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by amending Title 8 Building Regulations, Chapter 6, Construction, Site Erosion, and Sediment Control.
Move approval of second reading.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
4 yes.
You gonna waive it?
Okay.
Move waiving the third and adopt in final form.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Sorry.
Four yes.
Okay, let's move on to our public hearings. Item 6, I'm sorry. Oh, okay, public hearings, item 6A. 6A is time and place for a public hearing to consider bridge lot northwest corner of South 19th Street and Fuller Road, amend the comprehensive plan land use map, and amend the zoning map to establish multifamily residential land use and zoning initiated by the Walnut Creek Community Church. This is a matter that was continued from June 5th as well as July 5th. Clerk Ryan, could you please read from the notice the date it was published?
May 17th, 2023 in the Des Moines Register.
Okay, and have we received any written comments?
The Plan and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 7 yes, adopted a resolution recommending approval of the comp plan amendment and rezoning request.
Okay, so now's the time for a public hearing. If there's anybody in the audience or online that has any comments they'd like to make relating to item 6A, please come to the podium and give your name and address for the record. Okay, I don't see anybody in the audience here. If you're online, *6 to unmute for item 6A. I don't hear anything, so we're going to close the public hearing, and we've got a resolution for approval of a comprehensive plan amendment as well as an ordinance for approval of the first reading we have to take separate.
Move approval.
Oh, go Kevin.
I'm sorry, Kevin, did you move?
Yes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the resolution.
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion? Please vote.
Four yes.
Okay, and we also have an ordinance for the first reading.
Move consideration of the first reading.
Second.
Any discussion?
I think it's
Okay.
just important to note that this specific land is to the east of Jordan Creek, and so there is that water barrier between this specific parcel and the entire area around the Jordan House and beyond. So there is that barrier that is it's just important to note that geographical division. So that's all I just wanted to note. So I'm supportive of this moving on.
Terrific. Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, please vote.
Four yes, an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by amending Title IX zoning, Chapter 4 zoning districts and maps.
Move approval of the first reading.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Four yes.
Okay, item 6B. This is the time and place for a public hearing to consider that Cross Creek at 2475 Southeast First Street amend the zoning map to establish residential single-family RS5 zoning initiated by Savannah Homes, Inc. Ryan, could you please read the date the notice was published?
June 30th, 2023 in the Des Moines Register.
And have we received any written comments to this hearing?
The Planning and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 5 yes with 2 absent, adopted a resolution recommending approval of the rezoning request.
Okay. So now's the time for folks to give their public comment. If they're interested, you can come up to the podium, give your name and address for the record. We're going to limit comments to 5 minutes. Sure. If you could just give your name and address for the record, please.
David Lippold, Lippold, 2545 Southeast First. About 3 houses from this property. A lot of this is just finding out for the first time that a house that was sitting on 6 acres has been purchased to be removed and then have 23 houses put on this lot. And they also want to use Southeast First as their entrance to our road. We're a neighborhood that has 10 houses sitting on close to an acre each. This seems to be changing our neighborhood drastically. One of the things too, when the Veterans Parkway was put in, it's supposed to be a 4-lane boulevard, and the developers that it would be on that road would need to build the second road. So I'm not understanding why they want to use Southeast First when they're going to have to pay for the boulevard going in on Veterans. And I think, too, just having this many houses going into a neighborhood that's been established for 40-plus years is acreages to have so many houses put on. So that's my concern, is that you would consider if they want to parcel out this one property, that the lot should be more of what's in the neighborhood of 3/4 of an acre or something like that, and have the entrance go out to Veterans Parkway. I've talked to several of my neighbors. The ones that are even closer just left town today on a family vacation, so they weren't able to be here. So I was hoping they'd have a letter for you, but that's why I'm here today.
Sure. Well, David, thank you. This is the first reading. We'll have, I believe, future readings if things were to move forward. So your concern, just so I'm understanding, is the access as well as just the density. Is that right?
Right. With a development of that size, there's going to be a lot of traffic on our road right now. It's pretty quiet. And Des Moines is just getting ready to repave our road, which is in need of that, with that kind of construction, to move that amount of dirt to make it viable for housing. There's going to have to be a lot of heavy machinery coming in. So we prefer it to not be on our street.
Okay, I'm going to maybe ask if Lynn or I don't know who might be the appropriate person to help on this. This did come before the Development Planning Subcommittee previously. My understanding is, I'm reading the materials here, is that the current zoning breaks it into 3 different areas, which I think are higher density than what is being proposed here. But I'll look, maybe, Lynn, if you've got some information you could share on this item. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
And you feel free to stay, hang here for a second and see what, okay, thank you.
Yeah, Lynn Tweed, Director of Development Services, you're absolutely correct. Right now, this property has 3 different zoning designations. It's, got to look at my map here, 2.23 acres of high density, which could be up to 18 dwelling units per acre, so there's roughly 36 that can go in there. There's 2.33 acres of medium density at 12 dwelling units per acre, so there's another 24 roughly that can go in there. And then as well as 1.8 of just single family, which would be roughly 12 dwelling units in there. So this is considerably less dense than what the maps would allow for today.
Okay. That was my recollection. I wanted to confirm that. I think that it's helpful to understand that perspective. Do you have any sense on the access item that David raised?
No, I'm afraid that would have to be maybe Brian or somebody from engineering would have that. But this would not trip the widening of Veterans Parkway. So the widening of Veterans will be down the road as the area continues to develop up. It's not the first project in, it's as one traffic warrants.
Well, and if folks were to use the current zoning, they'd have more density and more traffic under the current
Correct.
proposal.
And Lynn, just to point out, residential high density is apartments, correct?
Typically, yes.
Yes.
As can be medium density, it can also be apartments in
Right.
there. So yes, it could have been a lot of apartments on this parcel.
How long has the zoning been in place like this? For this?
2010, roughly?
How many?
Probably 2010 after the last,
Okay.
the comp plan was adopted.
So
in
this isn't a
2010.
rezoning action at all? People probably just weren't aware that this is
Yeah,
in
it's-
place?
it's what we would consider is actually a downzoning of this area, but you're right. It would have been put in place after the comp plan adoption in 2010, so it's been there for several years.
So I guess one of the big questions is, if we're putting a road in, it either will connect between Veterans and First, or it'll be a cul-de-sac from Veterans, or it'll be a cul-de-sac from First.
It'll be a cul-de-sac road. The development is proposed as a cul-de-sac, so.
From which side, though?
From, coming off of First.
Why wouldn't
southeast
it come
First.
from veterans?
Because that my impression is it was coming from Veterans. That's what
Yeah.
I had.
Maybe Ed Arp can speak to that, but access points are going to be limited off of Veterans. And again, I don't know where exactly that one lies in this. We have not gone through the full plating and site planning process. I do know there's wetlands also as you get closer to Veterans Parkway, which makes a connection to Veterans a little bit more difficult. But as far as my understanding is, it's always been intended to have that access primarily coming off of Southeast First in this area.
Well, the reason that I was going to bring this up too is that it looks like it lines up with, is it Southeast Hollow Court? So to me, it would make sense to have it on Veterans, but can anybody speak as to why it's coming off of First and not Veterans? Mueller? Anybody?
When they talk about wetlands, it wasn't a problem when they put in Veterans Parkway. So why is it a problem now to connect to Veterans Parkway?
Where are the wetlands? Because this residential looks like residential high density looks like it goes all the way up to what's going to be the future widening of Veterans. So, yeah, where is the wetlands?
There's a creek that, it's drainage from the farm, Clark's farm field. There's a drainage creek, and then one from across the road, which again was wetlands when they put in Veterans Parkway.
Is there anybody here from Savannah that,
Ted Grove is.
Ted?
I mean, somebody had to decide that it's coming off of First instead of Veterans.
Yeah.
Where's the mic?
Just right up here at the
Hear
podium.
that?
Oh, sorry, Ted. If
My
you
name
just
is Ted Grobe, Savannah Homes, 800 South 50th Street, West Des Moines. We worked off and on with staff to try to establish how we could develop this ground. As was mentioned earlier, There's 3 zonings now. It has to be rezoned. We're downzoning it to single family. It ends up being about 3.5 units per acre. There's about a half acre of wetland. And we would propose doing this in 2 phases, 12 lots to start and the 11 lots in the second phase.
So can you answer the question, though, why it's coming off first and not veterans?
As I understand it, Veterans is planned to be widened. So to do that.
I agree, but
That's a monumental expense, and we just didn't think that we could access off of Veterans if it's not there yet. The half that's going to be added.
But can't the access still come off of veterans? It's just going to be a longer stretch, what? I guess that's to the west. And then when it gets widened out, I mean, we do that, we've done that before, right? I mean, you allow access in and out even though there's construction going on and
Well, it doesn't, I mean, so we don't, do we have an answer to that on this?
I don't,
Okay.
the issue hasn't come up until tonight.
That's fair. Yep. And, Lynn, as I'm looking at this, this is a reading for purposes of zoning, right? So we don't have anything on here in terms of access. At what point, Lynn, in the process would we have a conversation about access?
When we go through the preliminary plat process is when that first discussion will start happening about access points and how the subdivision lays out.
Okay. Okay, so at that point would be when that would come before the council, we would have this conversation. If it's not addressed before then, in terms of whether it's going to be off of veterans or first.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So, David, appreciate your comment, right? We clearly need to get an answer to that particular item. But in terms of what's before the council tonight, we have this question about the zoning. And from what I'm hearing, I hear what you're saying, and that is concern about density. And I think what we've learned tonight, what's in the packet, and what I think what was,
Right, because back when they put in Veterans Park.
if you, David, if you just people online need to be able to hear
Back when
you.
they put in Veterans Parkway, our concern at that point was they're changing everything by putting in the road, not realizing at the time that they changed that our single dwelling to multi-density, which that didn't make sense to us why they would do that. Now I'm seeing that, we can use this to our advantage when we go to develop and say, instead of putting in apartments here, just be happy that we're going to put in 23 homes in a small area instead of, apartments, which, again, still changing what's been our neighborhood for 20 years. I mean, it's, we're.
I hear what you're saying, and back in 2010, when the last comprehensive plan was adopted, it would have been, that council at that time made the decision that they wanted to see higher density in that particular area. Obviously, I wasn't there at that time. But what I can tell you is now we've got something to lower it. Theoretically, at this point in time.
So, but I mean, still at the one house, so you're, by changing that to single dwelling, how does that take that, one of the thirds to put multiple houses in on that property? I mean, it's not like I could say, I'm just going to start building more homes on my property.
No, my understanding this is for consistency zoning purposes. You've got 3 different designations now, 2 of which allow much higher density. Today, if a developer wanted to go in there and put, let's see here, 18 units per acre, they could, right?
And you can
this
change the zoning to single dwelling, right? So.
that's what he's doing.
That's what this is
Right.
doing, moving it down to
So-
R5.
But how does it determine how many houses can be put
In an area?
in an area? When you've got all the other houses on 3/4 of an acre, why is it all of a sudden now we can just shrink it down to 1/4 of an acre?
Yeah, it's part of our ordinance. And so when the ordinances were adopted in 2010, you had RH, for example, 18, which is a much higher density. And this would actually be taking it down to RS5, which is a lower density. And what I'm trying to say is if things were to stay status quo, if this were to be voted down and a developer wanted to propose 18 units, a much higher density, we wouldn't have ability to say no.
Okay.
And so this is actually, I think, it's moving in your direction, David.
Well,
Except
it
for
would be
access.
better if it was on Veterans Parkway rather than our street.
We'll work
because
on that.
Yeah.
We're 10 houses, and then all of a sudden, we're going to be 30-plus houses
Yep.
on that street, so.
I think the cart's a little before the horse on that front. It sounds like
Well, it
there's.
sounds like if I don't get started now, I'd.
Right.
Well, hey, very fair. Glad you're here. The other thing is there's also going to be a second reading.
Okay.
And so for your neighbors that couldn't be here, they're certainly more than welcome to come to the next council
Okay.
meeting. But hopefully this at least gives you the information to say it's going to be a lower density,
Okay.
and we'll have a conversation on access down the road.
All right.
David, I assume that, and I can't speak, and Ted, thank you for coming up and sharing, and I think, Ted, you've kind of heard what we're talking about up here and what David has shared, and if there's a possibility to go from Veterans Parkway to hook up with Hollow Court, I think that would be really ideal, both for the neighbors on First Street. Now, I don't know what the wetland situation is over there, but if you could look into that, Ted, that would be great. And as for David, thank you for sharing your thoughts. I'm assuming that if you had a choice between a cul-de-sac off Veterans or a cul-de-sac off of First Street, cul-de-sac off of Veterans.
Right.
I don't know, Ted, is there an opportunity for a through street at all? I assume that would be,
We should do that later.
Yeah.
that comes up a little bit later.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to say thank you for sharing that. And yeah, definitely, let's keep this on the back burner because I think there's thoughts about it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Ted.
You.
Any further discussion on this item? If you're online, *6 to unmute. Okay, I'm going to declare the public hearing closed on item 6B. We've got an ordinance for approval of the first reading.
Move consideration, first reading.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, please vote.
Four yes, an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by amending Title IX zoning, Chapter 4 zoning districts and maps.
Motion to approve, first reading.
Second. Second.
We have a second here.
Sorry, I don't have my teacher voice during the summer.
That's
It's
all
just
right.
gone.
All right, please vote.
That's why I've been so quiet, Renee.
It's all right.
Four yes.
We do have some students out here. They want to hear your voice.
There you go. Okay, let's move on to item 6C, development agreement. This is the time and place for a public hearing to consider an agreement for private development initiated by High Point Group LLC. Ryan, could you please read the date the notice was published?
July 7th, 2023 in the Des Moines Register.
And have we received any written comments to the hearing?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, now's the time and place for the audience to give public comment. If you're here for item 6C, please come up to the podium and give your name and address for the record. Okay, seeing no movement in the chamber. Online, if you're participating with comments on item 6C, you hit star 6 to unmute, please. Okay, hearing nothing and seeing no activity, we'll declare the public hearing closed. This is a resolution for approval of the agreement.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Okay, please vote.
Four yes.
Okay, we'll move on to item 6D. 6D is a resolution, this time and place for a public hearing to consider a sale and removal of structures located at 329 6th Street initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, could you please read the date the notice was published?
July 13th, 2023 in the Des Moines Register.
And have we received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, now's the time for a public hearing on item 6D. If anybody in the audience has any comments they'd like to offer, please come to the podium and give your name and address for the record. We'll limit comments to 5 minutes.
Nate Hahn, 216 7th Street. I want to keep this short. I want to say thank you for everybody that helped me through this process. And then another thing, I don't think you guys got any bids on the house, so I encourage you as city council to explore other options of what to do with that. The foundation just had a survey done. I think they had 200 and something responses to that single question, that there was, I think 80% of the people that responded to that said they would move to Valley Junction and buy a single family home. So there's a need for them. So I guess I'm encouraging you, if we got another option of where to move that house, explore it, let's do it, let's make this better. So keep it short and simple. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, Nate.
Thank you, Nate. Yeah, no, this, very good point. This only relates to the garage. It doesn't relate to the home, and I do think that that's something we're going to have to work through here in the very near future. Okay, any other public comments? If you're online, *6 to unmute. Okay, not hearing anybody, we'll declare the public hearing closed. This is a resolution. Let's see.
Motion for approval?
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? Please vote.
4 yes.
Okay. Let's move on to item 7. Item 7 is new business. 7A is Galleria at Jordan Creek, Plat 16, 6255 and 6275 Mill Civic Parkway. Approve a final plat to create 2 lots for commercial development. IHWOP LLC and WCK Red Robin LC. This is a resolution for approval, and it was through the Development Planning Committee twice, once in January of 2022 and most recently May 1st of 2023.
Motion to approve the resolution?
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote.
4 yes.
Okay, item 7B. Item 7B is Jordan Ridge Plat 2, northwest corner, Boonville Road and South Jordan Creek Parkway. Approve a preliminary plat to create 2 lots for multifamily residential development and 1 street lot, Jordan Ridge LLC. This was also before the Development Planning Subcommittee on June 5th with a unanimous recommendation.
Motion to approve the resolution?
Second?
Any discussion? Please vote.
4 yes.
Okay, item 7C is Legacy Bridge Private Family Offices, 5810 Grand Avenue. Approved site plan to allow construction of an approximately 10,000 square foot office building, PFO WWH LLC. This is approval of a site plan. This also came before Development Planning on June 5th with a unanimous recommendation.
Motion to approve the resolution?
Second?
Okay, any discussion? Please vote.
4 yes.
Okay, item 7D is Stonecross Lawn and Landscape, 3410 Southeast 22nd Street. Approved major modifications to site plan to allow modifications to site an existing soccer house building. Stonecross Properties LLC. This is a resolution for a major modification to a site plan. And this was discussed during a portion of the upcoming project at the Development Planning earlier this year.
Motion for approval?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I think we should take a moment. I know the soccer house hasn't been used for soccer for a couple months now, but hey, let's remember all the good times at the soccer house, because for the longest time it was really the only indoor soccer place in the area. And we are certainly turning over a new leaf. So RSVP Soccer House. Excuse me, RIP Soccer House. It's had a good run. And I was telling my wife about the vote tonight. She's like, hey, you should say something. And so I have said something. She recalls the good times. But I'm glad that it's still being used for other things. In this case, hey, landscaping, because that's good too.
It is.
So, I'm supportive.
RSVP. Okay. Any further discussion? Please vote.
4 yes.
Okay, item 8, it looks like we have one item that will receive, file, and refer. Item 9,
I don't think there was on this one.
oh, there's not?
No.
My apologies. All right, item 9, other matters. Does anybody on the council have any other matters that they'd like to raise this evening?
I did just want to say, I know Dick's not here, but I just wanted to recognize and honor his many years, decades of service to the city of West Des Moines. And I hope he certainly enjoys his retirement. If you're listening now, Dick, hey, congratulations. I'm really, really grateful for sitting next to you for these last several years, because I think you've made a giant difference to the city of West Des Moines. You've given so much of your time to our city. And so I just want to say Godspeed as you begin your retirement.
Well said. You know, oh, go ahead.
You go ahead.
I was just going to, I guess, echo those comments. Greg, we're fortunate to have had Dick serve the community for so long. And similarly, we also had a retirement party a retirement gathering for Clyde Evans. Today was Clyde Evans' last day here in the city of West Des Moines. And as the mayor at that time last week provided a really good rundown of how things have changed over the last 30-plus years. And, economic development is very much a lifeblood of what happens in a community. And without economic development occurring, we don't have the revenues to be able to do things like quality of life projects, such as the Athene Bridge we talked about earlier, and all the other great things we want to do in our community. And a big part of that is what happens in our community economic development department. So we have a big debt of gratitude to Clyde and excited to work with Ryan going forward. So.
Yeah, I agree. Couldn't say it more. I used to sit where you sit, Greg, and Dick and I have had plenty of conversations, and Dick has given his life and commitment to the city of West Des Moines and has really worked the city of West Des Moines through some sometimes challenging issues. And he's an unsung hero, actually, because a lot of what he does is behind the scenes, working us through situations and guiding and advising us. So Dick, may your retirement journey be everything that you want it to be and more, because you deserve it. You really deserve it. And yeah, I was there for Clyde's retirement, and it started off with Sally and then Clyde and Dick. So I say to Tom, the city manager, is that we're losing a lot of institutional knowledge, but yet there are people that are coming up behind them that have learned and developed under some of these leaders. So that is what's great. There are times you do have to go from the outside, but really when we look at West Des Moines and we look at the folks that are here and the tenure that they have here, it's really critical that we develop that tier of folks that are underneath them, because they're going to be taking the torch and running with it. So to continue to allow West Des Moines to be in a good stead. So I think you do a good job of trying to look at succession planning, Tom. But that's critical to the success of West Des Moines. So to Dick and Clyde, may their journeys into their retirement be blessed and with lots of good happiness. So it's been a pleasure to work with both of them.
Okay, thank you. Any other matters? All right, we're adjourned.